First off, good evening. My name is Paula Cousins. I'm with the Paula S. Cousins Ovarian and Endometrial Cancer Foundation, otherwise known as Paula's Promise. First off, I would like to thank the Cancer Wellness Center for having us tonight, and also to all of you for taking time out of, I'm sure, your very busy schedules to be here to hear what Paula's Promise is about and to hear a little bit about my own cancer journey. You all kind of make me feel like I'm kind of a big deal, not just up here. In my own head, I'm the biggest deal. So I thank you for that. Sorry, I get real passionate and I get real emotional when it comes to these things, because it is so very important. Like most women, we wear many hats as a wife, stepmother, daughter-in-law, friend, daughter of a brave father who courageously fought his own battle with cancer 5 different times, and ultimately, unfortunately, we lost him Christmas time of 2022. I'm also the daughter of a very feisty little woman named Susie, who lost her battle with dementia this past Easter. But she fought the good fight, as well as my father. I am a sister of 8 siblings, 9 total. I'm number 7 out of 9. I have 7 sisters and 1 brother. I know, poor fella, right? But he's fine. There's 2 bathrooms. He could be outside. We lived in the woods. He was fine. And unfortunately, 6 out of us 9 have been diagnosed with cancer. Unfortunately, 2 of my sisters did not make it. 1 passed of brain cancer and 1 passed of cervical cancer the Wednesday after we buried my mother. So cancer has taken its toll on my family, as I'm sure every other family that you will talk to, cancer has taken a toll on them as well. I haven't met one family yet who has not been affected by cancer in one way or another. My journey began August of 2018, when for a couple of weeks, I just wasn't feeling all that great. I had constipation. I had frequent urination, bloating, headaches, back pain, indigestion. When I talk about the indigestion, it's like Satan himself set up shop in my guts and made me his own personal junk drawer. Okay, that was, and the exhaustion when you are diagnosed, well, before you know you're diagnosed with cancer, the exhaustion is so great that I would have to take a nap in the grocery store parking lot just to have enough energy to go in the grocery store. And again, as women, we spend all this time taking care of others, making sure everything is perfect and right, and taking care of everything, that we don't take care of ourselves. And I contributed my exhaustion from working 10, 12-hour days, getting up at 2:30 in the morning. My stepdaughter would have basketball later, and just life in general. And you don't stop to think that there may be something seriously wrong. And I didn't know the signs and symptoms of ovarian cancer. No one ever told me. Not one doctor that I ever had told me the signs or symptoms of ovarian cancer. You go and you get your annual checkups from your gynecologist and your doctors. I would go every year. My tests would come back fine. And I'm like, great, because cancer runs in my family and it was always a concern. But not one doctor ever told me that a pap test will not detect ovarian cancer. Not one. And again, it's called the cancer that whispers, because by the time you are diagnosed with ovarian cancer, it's because the cancer has progressed to a later stage. When I was diagnosed, I had 25% chance of being here today. 1 out of 78 women will be diagnosed with ovarian cancer. That is 1 woman every 23 minutes. And over half the women diagnosed with ovarian cancer will not survive 5 years past diagnosis. And back to my story, I was feeling unwell, and the pain got so great that one night it dropped me to my knees, like literally to my knees. I was in the middle of making dinner, and the pain hit my stomach so hard. And my husband's like, "That's it. You've been sick too long. We're going to the emergency room." And I called my sister. She worked in the medical field, and she said, "Well, it kind of sounds like your gallbladder." So I went to the emergency room. It was late at night. They also thought it was my gallbladder. Oh, my time's up. Dinner. I put her to sleep already. She needs an alarm. So they did blood work and they did a scan. And by then it was reaching the middle of the night, and they came back. They're like, we're going to admit you. You're going to have emergency surgery in a couple hours. They said it is not your gallbladder. We found a mass almost the size of a football inside of you. I was like, a football? I'm like, I feel like some TSA agents have some explaining to do. Because I've been on planes, you go through those x-ray machines. I'm like, never once did they say, got a little something going on there. I could have smuggled stuff. I mean, no one would know. So there was that. So we didn't go to my regular hospital because it was a 4 to 5 hour wait at that hospital. So we went to a hospital that I don't normally go to. So there was that, but they were quicker. So I'm like, okay, they're going to take care of this right away. We don't know what it is, but they're going to get it out of me and maybe I'll start to feel better. And cancer is always, my family. It's right there at all times. And so they admitted me. That day went by, no emergency surgery. And they couldn't feed or water me because they kept promising surgery. I was in that hospital for 9 days. They sent me home with a body that was trying to kill me. They did scans, they did blood work. My family came in, they visited me one day. It was like day 4 or 5. I sent them home. I'm like, everyone's tired, just go, we'll figure it out. And after they left, the doctor came in and said, I'm so sorry, Paula, you have cancer. Without anybody else in the room, they had met my family had just left, and still no surgery. They literally sent me home with a body that was trying to kill me. By the time I got home, I was turning yellow, like I was just sick. And so I called my doctor, and fortunately, I go to UPMC Hammett, and they are part of McGee's. And my doctor said there's this great doctor out of Pittsburgh. He comes to Erie on Fridays. His name is Dr. Bob Edwards. Best in the state, best anywhere. And the next day was Friday. So Dr. Edwards was nice enough to squeeze me in. So first time ever meeting him, showing him all my business, because that's what you do on a first date. And he didn't buy me dinner, offer me dinner. He still owes me dinner 6 years later. But he shook his head and rushed me to surgery right there, right in McGee's within minutes. He was changing my clothes and getting me up there. And then after that got done, he came and he was furious with the other hospital. He's like, I'm not sure why they would tell you that. He's like, he's been doing it for years. He said, your tumor does not look cancerous. He said, but we're going to do some biopsies and send it away, and we're going to have it looked at. He's like, but good news. He's like, I think you can relax. He's like, it's not looking like that. So again, we're overjoyed. Great news. So I go home, and a week later, again, I'm alone in my house trying to heal from the emergency. And he calls me and he asked me if I was sitting down. And he said, I am so very sorry. He's like, I promise you, I did not think it was cancer. He's like, it is cancer. He's like, I would like to have you come to Pittsburgh in the next week, and I would like to give you a full hysterectomy and see what we can see. So we scheduled that. I went to Pittsburgh, and as they were doing the surgery, there's a little cul-de-sac area that doesn't really turn up on scans and stuff. And that was also full of cancer. And I was diagnosed with a rare clear cell form of cancer also. So we battled it with 18 months of chemotherapy. Lost my hair. Good thing my mom and dad squeezed out a nice round noggin. So I was grateful for that. But he pulled my husband aside and said that he gave me about a 25% chance to live. So classic me, I cried for about 2 minutes. Crying isn't going to cure me. Crying isn't going to change my situation. Humor is my weapon of choice. So I use humor. So we did all the chemotherapy, and I've been no evidence of disease for the last 4 years. I'm also, thank you. Thank you. I am also guinea pigging a chemotherapy pill that they normally give to breast cancer patients to see how ovarian cancer patients react to it. And because my strong family history, Dr. Edwards did genetic testing on me, which at Paula's Promise, we are huge promoters of genetic testing if you have a strong family history of cancer. I came back diagnosed with Lynch syndrome, MSH Lynch syndrome, which is the main culprit for colon cancer. Every male, including my father, on my father's side has had colon cancer, and every male on my father's side has died from one form of cancer or the other. And they assume that my sister who died of brain cancer and my also had Lynch, they assume my father had Lynch, and my sister who just passed away was diagnosed with Lynch also. 5 of my parents' 9 children have been diagnosed with Lynch syndrome so far. But we promote genetic testing. It's so important because if you have the chance to save your own life or the lives of others, why wouldn't you do that? And Lynch syndrome does not skip generations. You would save your child from crossing the street in front of a car. You would save your child from strangers. You would save your child from choking. Why wouldn't you save your children from cancer? So after I was diagnosed, after I got home, I wanted to learn more about the cancer that was trying to kill me. So I reached out to the normal places that you would go to find out information. And none of these places could help me. They had information on breast cancer, colon cancer, cervical cancer, not one thing on ovarian cancer. And that made me angry. So I was trying to look up foundations in Pennsylvania that dealt with ovarian cancer. There was one near Philadelphia, and their founder had just passed away. So I didn't know if they were going to continue in Philadelphia. It's far. So my friends and my family rallied like nothing else I've seen before. And I made a promise that I would start raising awareness for women, because no matter what your cancer color is, you deserve a fighting chance. It doesn't matter what the color. So my friends, who I've been friends with for years since school, we formed Paula's Promise. And our mission is to not only raise awareness for gynecological cancers and women's cancers, but to help people with any types of cancer. We help, it doesn't matter if you're man, woman, child, it doesn't matter the kind of cancer you have, we will help you. We raise money for donations for gas cards and grocery cards. We've helped people pay their copays. We've helped pay for medications. We give away 2 scholarships every year to children affected by cancer. I was a child affected by cancer, so I've seen the toll it takes. When my father was diagnosed first when I was 10 years old, we see the toll it takes. These people should focus on getting healthy and being around for their families and children and not have to worry about the little things like paying a bill or how am I going to have gas to get to my appointment. That will save my life. We give away heated blankets to local cancer centers at Christmas time. We give away our Chemo Comfort Bags that are filled with things that I wasn't told that might help me along my way with chemotherapy. It's filled with such things as soft bristled toothbrushes, a dry mouth spray, non-alcoholic mouthwash, port pillows to cover your port so the seatbelt doesn't rub, lap blankets, puzzles to help you when you're sitting there with killing time. Because I know some chemotherapies were very long. My chemotherapies were 7 to 8 hours each time. I was the first patient in and the last one out, and we went to Pittsburgh for every single one. Again, our focus is to raise awareness for gynecological cancers, because show of hands, I've had 2 sisters with this type of cancer, but show of hands, how many, when you think women's cancer, how many of you automatically think pink? And that's okay. I was the same way. Again, I had 2 sisters with breast cancer and an aunt with breast cancer. But they do amazing things. They build their brand up, and that's great and that's amazing. But you have a cancer out there that is killing more women annually than breast cancer. Ovarian cancer, there is no true cure, and there is no true testing for ovarian cancer. And we try to raise awareness. So many women we come across and we tell them that the pap test will not detect ovarian cancer. They're speechless. I was a rare case. I know I'm like the unicorn that I am. But ovarian cancer, it strikes women that are obese or 60 years in age and over. Like I'm a rare case of ovarian cancer. And again, they found uterine and endometrial cancer as well in me when they did that surgery. And I do have Lynch syndrome, like I said, the genetic disorder where my cells don't know, they don't signal my body that cancer cells are bad for me. And they invite them in and they just throw a party and they have a great time. So more than likely I will be diagnosed again with multiple types of cancer more than likely, because Lynch syndrome is associated to colon, brain, skin, stomach, uterine, ovarian cancer. And like I said, there is no really true cure for ovarian cancer either, because it leaves behind little small cells that you can't see, and they will attach themselves to other things eventually. So I'm hoping that I am around for another 5 years. And it's been so hard. So many women, when we set up awareness tables at craft shows and things, some women will come up and they'll be like, oh my God, thank you. Finally, a teal table. And I tell them, and they will introduce themselves and they will share those stories, either that, you know, their mom or their sister or themselves have ovarian cancer. Because let's face it, we all know somebody with ovaries. We all do. It's just a given. And I tell them, I'm like, you don't have to be crazy and start a foundation and tell your friends, hear me out, you know, for 20, 30 times, but please share your story. You can reach that one person. And when we do large craft shows and stuff, and there's more than 78 women in the room, and we get to talk to 78 women, I'm hoping that one will take our information or listen to our story and be like, I think that's me. And we tell them, and a lot of doctors don't want to listen to women either when it comes to these signs and symptoms. So like, oh, you know, you're just busy, you're just tired, you're bloating, you know, it's your time of the month, whatever. And I tell them, I'm like, your doctor works for you. If your doctor won't listen to you, find a doctor that will. You have that right. You can schedule your own mammogram. You can do self-checks. It'd be weird checking yourself for ovarian cancer, I think, without a mirror. But but they advocate so much for it. And I want to push for this blood test. It's called the CA-125 blood draw. It doesn't necessarily detect ovarian cancer, but it will tell them the levels of the proteins. And if they're higher, and you have the other symptoms, it's really something to consider addressing and looking at. And if you're over a certain age and if you're done having children, if you ask them for a hysterectomy and they won't give it to you and you're showing signs and symptoms, go somewhere that will. It's important. Like, I don't know why they care so much, whether you want more children, not more children. You have that right to save your own life. So that is one thing that we are pushing for. And I'm also trying to push doctors, and I tell my doctors that you should not tell patients they have cancer over the phone. You should make sure they have someone with them at all times if you're going to tell them some life-changing diagnosis. And again, I learned in a room by myself the first time, and the second time I was by myself and it was over the phone. So I feel like that's unnecessary as well. But again, genetic testing, huge, huge, huge promoters of genetic testing. It's so important. And I don't want to see women suffer. I don't want to see anybody suffer. And I tell all the women, don't be me. Don't ignore yourself so much. Don't be so wrapped up in taking care of others that you don't take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you will not be around to take care of the others. You will not see your children grow up. You will not meet your grandchildren. You will not grow old. And again, over half the women will not survive. There is really no prevention of ovarian cancer, but just pay attention to your bodies. And if you do have hysterectomies, make sure they take everything. If you've had breast cancer, please be aware that breast cancer and ovarian cancer are linked together. So again, if you're of age and that's a worry for you, they give you the option to remove your breasts. If you're diagnosed with a BRCA gene without even having breast cancer, they give you that option. So I feel like they should give you the option of having a hysterectomy if the chances are great for you. And a lot of times they just don't want to listen, which is unfortunate. And again, we give away 2 scholarships every year, which is amazing. These girls right here, Diana and Paula. Diana is my treasurer. Tasha is my secretary. Again, best friends my whole life. I forgive her. I couldn't do what I do without them and my husband doing what they do. It's so important to have a support system, to have love, to have understanding, patience mostly, patience mostly with me. But these girls have, again, rallied, and they've learned so much, along with myself, have learned so much about cancers that we never even really heard of. And again, we're trying to spread the word about teal. Again, pink is so important, but they're all important. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No,
Yes.
no, it's okay. Can you, how do they test?
Yeah.
And what takes you to that test? Do you have symptoms? Because they don't generally test.
They do not generally test. The signs and symptoms, like I said, are bloating, backaches, irregular periods, exhaustion, gaining weight without eating, losing weight without trying. And they won't test unless you are literally on the floor, almost dying. They don't offer it. They don't just say, oh, hey, let us just check this out. I've met so many women and women that I talk to and I send them to their doctors, they'll message me and they're like, they don't want to do it. And it's just a simple blood draw. And they can do a scan on an internal scan, but again, they can see the masses, they can see the tumors, but it doesn't tell them if it's cancer unless they do a biopsy. So, and that's the unfortunate thing with ovarian cancer too. There's just really nothing. And it's sad. And the only reason I found out, like I said, is because they thought it was gallbladder, again, mimicking, they call it the cancer that whispers, because it won't yell at you and say, hey, I'm here. It doesn't, you don't feel a lump. Some women get so bloated that they look like they're 9 months pregnant. And it's sad that it gets to I feel like it shouldn't get to that point if they're showing signs and symptoms and they're asking their doctor about it. Because by then, I mean, it's very far advanced. And the women that do have reoccurrences, reoccurrence is not like guaranteed, but it's almost a given that it will come back. And most women don't survive the reoccurrence. And
we do advocate like 2 weeks. If you have these symptoms over 2 weeks, especially the bloating and the constipation and the even pain during sex, it's like 2 weeks. Your body. Your body. You have to start listening to it.
You have to be your own advocate. I'm sure you've heard it a million times. And again, it's unfortunate. We'll be doing events with like the Pink Racks or Link by Pink, and they raise so much money. It's incredible and good for them. That's fantastic. It's great. And we try so hard, and it's nothing like Pink is, but we would like to get it to that point. Yeah, unfortunately, there is no true test for ovarian cancer, as there's like the colonoscopy for the colon cancer, and the mammograms and the prostate checks, and the skin, they can check a mole. Yeah, it's sneaky. It shows no mercy. And women, I feel, are dying needlessly every year from it, because we need more doctors and professionals to listen to us. Oh, yes, I'm so
You
sorry.
said CA
125. Yes.
125.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if that's something they don't do currently, but that would be
They do it, but they don't like so much. You go in and you tell them your signs, they don't like offer it. Like you can ask for it, but they ignore the women a lot. They will do it like if they find the tumor in you, and they biopsy it and it comes back that it may be cancer, then they'll run the test. I have that test drawn, well, now, because I've been so many years past diagnosis, I have it every 3 months now. Yes, they still do it on me today. And again, it takes your protein levels. Even if you have a high protein level, it doesn't necessarily mean you have ovarian cancer, but it tells them to look further into it. And again, it's unfortunate that there's just no testing. There's no. Yeah. Yes.
With the CA 125, are you finding maybe part of the reason they're not doing it is because insurance won't cover it. I hate to even ask that question, but I feel like that's,
Unfortunately, I believe that that has a lot to do with it. And it's unfortunate that the insurance companies make those life decisions for you, life or death. You have to beg for it. Like I said, every year I call up, I don't even have a referral for mammogram. I just call the place and I do it. And we're trying to make it part of the annual routine. If you are showing signs and symptoms, if you go in for your PAP, there's no reason they can't do a blood draw. Again, just because your levels are high for the CA-125 doesn't necessarily mean you have ovarian cancer, but it definitely needs addressing and looked into if your levels are extremely high.
There's something wrong.
Yeah,
There's something going on.
Yeah, if you have a CA-125, it goes from like 1 and up. Once you hit double digits on it is a real concern. Mine was 800 when I was diagnosed.
The,
Five
the C-
ovarian as well. I'm so happy to see you. When were you?
Mine was 500 and then it's down, it's just 9, I guess, but they haven't checked me in a while.
Oh, really? When were you?
My
diagnosed?
last treatment was May 30th. I don't think they've checked me since my chemo was done.
Really?
I need my gallbladder on Thursday, so see.
Oh. Oh, okay. Yeah, they were checking me every single month up until recently. I've moved on to 3 months now. But every little thing makes you nervous. Every little thing. I had double digits come back once and it panics you. And so they redid it and it just happened to be a false positive. But still, it's always right there. I hope none of this is like scaring you. I'm so sorry. Or anyone else.
I know.
Who is sad, but I'm sure, yeah.
I'm just hoping for a little bit
Oh,
positive news.
oh,
Well, she's still here.
yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
because I was,
2018.
okay.
Yep, and they gave me 25% survival rate when I was
Oh,
diagnosed.
okay, it's safe for you?
Yeah, well, I had multiple types of cancer, so
Okay.
it was ranging. It wasn't great.
Okay.
It wasn't great, but and now when they do the internal exams, I'm like, I don't know why you're doing that, and there's nothing down there, and all I hear is the doctor echoing. But you had your last chemo, you said.
Last chemo in May.
Congratulations.
I thought I had, thank you. Then they rang the bell, then I ended up in the hospital for the stupid gallbladder, and then my
Oh, not
counts were too low, or I couldn't get it out. So
oh
I've been waiting since June to get this gallbladder out, so Thursday.
oh.
So I thought I had a. Oh, thank you. See me. Last time I saw you, I my babushka, my big sharpie thing.
Did you have a carboplatin and Taxol?
I don't know what that means.
Drugs, the chemo drugs?
I didn't like 3 different ones.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Did you look? I think I should. Yeah. Okay. I had 3 different ones.
How many rounds did you have? 6,
rounds,
which
3
is
weeks apart.
typically.
I thought I had an ulcer. It started in like September, and I just couldn't eat. And I was losing weight, but I was getting bloated.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't dump my pants. So when I went into my PCP, Dr. Ray, she knew right away. I'm like all the ascites, all the the swelling. I'm like, I think I have an ulcer. And she sent me for a CT scan the next day, and it came up on my app.
That's a bad thing about
And that's the thing about the apps. The apps are a blessing and a curse.
So nobody told me. I was in my car, like, and then I came out and then she knew right away. And then the next day was that, and then sent me to Pittsburgh, and then but she wasn't fooling around. She was like,
That's great. I'm so glad to hear that your doctor listened. Anyone else been affected by ovarian or uterine cancer?
I was back in 2020.
Oh, well, I'm so happy you're here. Congratulations.
And I get the tumor markers. Well, I've been getting them every 3 weeks because I get immunotherapy.
Oh, okay. And that's a huge thing. Did you get Avastin?
Yes.
Are either Avastin is very important. Have they talked about Avastin? I'm so sorry to interrupt
No,
you.
that's fine.
It's a maintenance drug. They usually give you a year's worth with it. It's to
Yeah,
try
they've
to
been
keep.
stuck for 2 years, but that's not the name of it.
Oh.
It is an IL something.
Oh, okay.
I was on Repraca for a while. And it, the ovarian cancer reoccurred too. So they took me off that. I had chemo 3 times. And it was Taxol the first
Taxol,
2
yeah.
times.
Wicked
And-
stuff, wicked
Yes.
stuff, terrible, terrible, poison.
And the 3rd time was Doxil.
Oh.
So that was easier.
Yeah, they stopped some of my treatments early because they said they didn't want the cure to kill me because I developed neuropathy and
Yes.
other issues. I have permanent neuropathy now from the drugs.
It's
Like, yeah,
pretty bad in my feet.
yeah. In the mornings, I don't know if there's, but in the mornings, it takes me a minute to stand up. And I was a waitress too, so it was hard. I would go waiting tables with my bald head and my neuropathy, but I was there. Well, I'm so happy that you are here with us.
Yeah, it can be feel down.
And everyone else affected by cancer.
I was diagnosed in 2018. 6 years plus, and I have not had reoccurrence. So far.
I know.
But they do the markers on me, and, you know, it was kind of strange how mine presented, though. It was just sudden ascites. Nothing else, no other bloating, I mean, up until that,
Right.
but there was no pain, my pap smears were fine, breast mammograms, everything was clear.
Yeah.
I
And
had
then it
no
took
symptoms.
It took
No
so long
symptoms.
to figure
Wow.
out what the problem was. They couldn't even find a tumor initially.
Wow.
And it took time with scans and everything until something did appear. And because of the ascites, I had to clear all that out before they could.
Right.
determine it. But I've only been through the chemo, so.
Thank goodness.
usual
Thank
round
goodness.
that you get.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes they'll offer the radiation, but with me at least, they're keeping radiation in the back pocket for a reoccurrence. Because you can only do radiation like not one session, but once in your life. But
But
I'm
know
so
Dr.
happy.
Edwards, too, 'cause
That your doctor?
Well, I did see him and I.
He's
said,
amazing. I keep
I
sending
thought
him
Dr.
people.
Edwards-
I keep sending him people. He's like, I'm trying to retire. I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
Well, he was fine. and I-
Yeah.
I
He's amazing though.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful doctor.
don't know if he's still coming here. Was coming up to Armageddon.
Yeah, I've been seeing his PA
Yeah. Me
a
too.
lot. I did go to Pittsburgh not that long ago to see him when my markers hit double digits again.
Wow.
He wanted to see me, so I went back down there. Anyone else affected not necessarily by ovarian cancer, but cancer?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I didn't have really any symptoms. I was getting neuropathy, which was unrelated because I had. And my neurologist sent me for an MRI. Looking at the lumbar and found.
Wow.
masses.
Thank goodness. I mean, wow. Wow.
I went to surgery right away, went through chemo, just completed that. Say, I firmly believe in the power of positive thinking.
Again, humor was my weapon of choice and that. Yeah.
It's so important, like when we talk about advocacy, like, I think it's equally important to let people know to be fearful of symptoms, but also to be so afraid of,
Right.
the diagnosis.
Right.
That's 6 years, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
It's
think
amazing.
I feel good.
Good. That's amazing. Thank
Less. The stage 3C. Complete rectal hysterectomy and chemo, the carbo, the
Yeah.
Taxol, the rest.
crazy stuff.
Talking about maintenance therapy.
Yeah.
My daughter, my granddaughter, and we're here together.
Yeah.
I just feel very strongly we just all need to be.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why we started the foundation to raise awareness. So maybe we can change things and it won't be so doom and gloom one day when people think about ovarian cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the insurance companies.
Ugh.
I worked for the insurance. For
Oh.
30 years.
We were looking for someone to blame tonight. No, I'm kidding.
That's where the advocacy comes in, though, to, reach out to Congress, reach out
Yes,
to make those laws, make those tests available. I had a pap test, a mammogram, the physical examination.
Nothing. Yep.
Everything. 1
Yep.
month later, I had stage 3 ovarian cancer.
Yeah.
So those tests do nothing.
Yep.
for-
And they don't tell you that either. They do not tell you that. And that's why, and to everyone affected by cancer, especially you ladies, I wrote a little something real quick I'd like to tell you because we're all in this together. It doesn't matter what form of cancer you have. Tell your story, shout it, write it, whisper it if you have to, but tell it. Some will understand it, some will outright reject it, but many will thank you for it. And then the most magical thing will happen. One by one, voices will start whispering, me too, just like ovarian cancer whispers. And your tribe will gather and you will never feel alone again. We have to be the voice of ovarian cancer. Like I said, you don't have to start a huge foundation or anything like that, but share your story. It just takes that one woman to listen. And before COVID hit, I was trying to get into schools. I was starting to be invited to schools to talk to high school age girls. Like early detection, and we were promoting the HPV vaccination as well, which helps prevent cervical cancer. But I wanted to send them home with information because they may not be going through it, but if they recognize their mother or their grandmother or someday themselves, they'll be like, oh, that crazy lady came and talked to us. I remember her saying these things. And maybe, again, save generations of people. But you, all of you are amazing, down to the families, the support system too. You are just equally as important as the doctors, if not more. So thank you for sticking by and being strong. You are also survivors.